Yo yo yo, welcome back to my channel. For this adventure we are going shad fishing on the Columbia River. I have never done this before and I've never been to this location. So let's see what I encountered and find out if this experience is for you. So real quick, what are shad and where is the Columbia River? So shad is a large member of the herring family. I'm gonna butcher this. The American shad's Latin name is Olosa sapidissima, or most delicious herring, so we'll see if that lives up to the name. And the Columbia River is a giant river on the border of Oregon and Washington, pretty much where Portland is. And with that all out of the way, let's get into the adventure. Good morning, beautiful people. It is 3:41 in the morning. I got a couple of hours of sleep in, but I am very tired. But it is time to start the day. Let's get this party started. Okay, I am showered, my teeth are brushed, and I am dressed. Time to go get that food. Good morning, Silverville. Is someone in a mood? Alright, Daddy needs to go make breakfast. Hey Silver Kitty, does someone like to jump on people's backs when they're making coffee? I think so. Is that true? Does someone like to jump on people's backs when they're making coffee? Honestly, I think the hardest part about getting up in the morning is just getting up in the morning. Everything kind of falls into place after that. I am feeling much better than I did when I first woke up, so that's good. Hi Kitty, you saying hi as well? She says hi as well. Okay, I am all fed and I am all packed. Let's get the show on the road. So, now that we've gone through with the morning routine, I made the drive over to Jesse's place. You know, it was actually kind of cool to be able to see the sunrise. I am not much of an early person, and I am never up this early, so I'm reminded of how pleasant of an experience this is. To be clear, the sunrise part, not the waking up early part, that part sucks. Now, after a short drive, we have arrived at Jesse's. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. Let's go say hi to Jesse. Good morning, Jesse.
Oh no. Good morning.
What can I carry?
This bucket.
Let's do it. I have a bucket. As with any good fishing adventure, we brought an assortment of coolers, buckets, fishing poles, lures, and any other goodies we had in our tackle boxes. So Jesse, what is the plan for today?
The plan is to catch hundreds of fish.
Let's do it.
Alright.
And with our goal set for the day, we were finally off and we started making the 3-hour drive down to the Columbia River. I think the key to surviving any long drive is to have a good driving buddy with you, or, at least something to do. Luckily, Jesse and I have a billion things in common and we never run out of stuff to talk about, and it made the 3-hour drive go by relatively quickly. As we started to get closer, I got this really cool overlook of the Columbia River. Until that moment, I didn't realize that we were a few thousand feet up the mountain. And it was only a flash, but it was that moment that really set the context for how beautiful the environment that we're about to step into was. But finally, after a very long drive, we arrived at the Bonneville Dam. So, now that we arrived, we had to get set up for the main event. Finding a spot was actually pretty tough. There were people lined up every 15 or so feet all across the riverbank, at least for like a mile or two in each direction and on both sides of the river. I had no idea that it was this crowded, and now I kind of understand why we had to get there so early. So, with our spot now secured, we had to set up our gear. We each had a lightweight fishing pole and some very light fishing line. I think it was about, 8-pound test or something like that. If we do this again, I would recommend something heavier. It snapped really easily on us. The lures that we got were called shad darts. Essentially, it's a tiny piece of lead that's painted bright colors and has a hook on the end. That, plus a weight and a swivel, is pretty much all you need. Oh, and if you were curious, the equipment that we use can be found in the description below. The weight that we used was actually much different than any weight that I've ever used before. It was like a tube of lead that you cut and run a line through. So you cut off a small section of the lead. We did about 2.5 to 3 inch pieces. Then you feed the fishing line through and you can crimp it with pliers to get it to stay in place. The idea here is that if you get the lead piece stuck on the rocks or debris in the water, you can always firmly pull on the line to have the lead slip off and you get to keep your line. It's a cool concept that didn't really play out too well in practice, but that was the idea. Now that we were all set up, we were ready for some action. And 3 hours later, we were still waiting for some action. There was an insane amount of wind going on the entire time. It was a steady 15 miles an hour that just sometimes gusted up to 30. Most of the audio from that location is useless because of the wind, but this is what it sounded like. So this is the river, and this is the shallows with all of the rocks, and this is where we needed to put our line. However, it was really hard to do that because of the consistent wind going the entire time that we were there. I have never lost so much fishing equipment in my life so far. It was like every other cast was getting stuck on the rocks in the shallows right off the riverbank. Super frustrating. So, assuming we could get the line out far enough, the technique for shad fishing is to cast the line to where the water is the deepest you can get. Then, you let the lure hang out for a bit while you slowly reel the line back in, and once you get to the shallows, you reel the line in quickly so that the lure and the weight, it stays flowing through the water and not sinking to the bottom so it can get caught. That was not working for me.
No!
Occasionally, if you're lucky, you can get the line unstuck, but that was a rare occurrence.
Oh, yay!
The guy next to us, however, was clearly doing something right. He got about 8 fish in an hour and was just racking them up. He was kind enough to give us a few pointers on what we were doing wrong though. Apparently, the leader that we were using is too short. The leader is just the piece of fishing line in between your weight and your hook. And our leader needed to be longer so that our lure can flow in the water a bit further away from our weight and look a little bit, more natural in the water. The movement of the lure in this case is called the action, and that's what we were getting wrong in our current setup. And with that small change, our luck improved immediately.
Yeah! I caught a fish! It only took 4.5 hours, but I got a fish! Second fish today! We have food for dinner! Yeah!
So it wasn't exactly the hundreds of fish that we were planning for.
Hundreds of fish.
But it was still a lot of fun. I didn't realize this, but shad are one of the most fun fish to go after, and they put up a huge fight. They fight even better than salmon, and that makes everything so much more exciting. All in all, we spent about 6 hours and got 4 fish between us, which isn't the best return on our investment, but I still had a good time, so I think that part was worth it. After that, we packed up all of our gear and started to make the trek back home because we still had a 3-hour drive ahead of us and we wanted to get back at a reasonable time. On the way back, we ran into so much traffic. I didn't think rush hour would be that bad on a Saturday, but I stand corrected. It easily added another 1.5 hours to our drive, so we finally got back to Jesse's at like 7:30 p.m. We unpacked, we cleaned our gear, and then it was a short drive for myself to get back home. Oh, quick PSA. I was incredibly sunburnt after this trip. After growing up in Florida, you'd think I would be a little bit smarter and know the dangers of prolonged sun exposure and, take the steps to prevent that. But I am not a smart man. And I spent about 6 hours in direct sunlight, so my skin felt like it was on fire. So don't be like me and wear sunblock. All in all, this was a cool experience that I'm glad to have gone on. I got to see a beautiful part of the country that I've never been to before. I learned a whole bunch of new skills and techniques like how to tie a jig and how to set up my fishing equipment properly. I learned techniques on how to fish for shad and how to navigate the waters of the Columbia River. I got to fish for some extremely strong fish for their size, and soon I'll get to try some delicious new recipes. I would do all of this again in a heartbeat. The only change that I would make is I would split this up into an overnight trip instead of just a day trip, especially if you live far away from the Bonneville Den like I do. The drive on top of the activity itself is a little brutal, and you can take the edge off by making it 2 days. Maybe a weekend trip. Well, I hope you got some enjoyment out of this video, and I hope that it inspired you to try this adventure someday. All the links to the equipment that I use can be found in the description below, and if you do try this experience, leave a comment and let me know how it went. I would also appreciate the whole like and subscribe thing. Overall, I had a great time, and I hope you enjoyed watching. As always, good luck, have fun, peace.